KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger, a public affairs program featuring stories from all over the Central Valley with Sevag Tateosian, 90.7 KFSR.
Welcome to the beautiful downtown Fresno studios of the Community Media Access Collaborative, Fresno and Clovis. We're here in downtown Fresno, and speaking of downtown, our next guest has just a little bit of understanding of the downtown area because of the projects around us. Next door is a project that him and his team did. President of Granville Homes, Darius Assemi. Welcome, Mr. Assemi, to the program.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be here.
So, first and foremost, I joke that you know about downtown, but you do, because next door we have one of your projects. So you worked on downtown.
Yeah, actually, my cousin, Reza, started the downtown work as part of our family's involvement in downtown. And in the late 2009, Granville Homes got very involved in downtown projects as well, and we've built multiple projects, several hundred units, from studios to live-work units, to mixed-use projects with lots of retail on the corners right across the street from you.
And I've noticed that since these properties went up, there are a little bit more people in downtown. So, hey, you build housing, people come.
Exactly. And really the key to revitalizing downtown is to get several thousand new market-rate condos or apartments built. You know, there's over 50,000 people that work in downtown. So if you can attract some of them to the core and let it, allow opportunities for them to, move into by providing a nice, diverse array of housing, you get more people that stay here after 5 o'clock and contribute to the downtown economy.
You know, some people looking at Granville and looking at you and the Assemi family, you're living the American dream. I mean, tell us a little bit about the story, because you came as immigrants to this country.
Correct. We immigrated to this beautiful country directly to Fresno in the late 70s from Iran. This country and this community has been very good to us and our family. We started out as a very small home builder. We used to build for other people. Did mainly general contracting, and then in the late 80s got an opportunity to do our first subdivision work. So the first Granville neighborhood came out of the ground in the late 80s, and then over the years we've diversified into farming, and then recently into the education world. And those have many challenges. Lots of ups and downs, but they're incredibly rewarding.
Do you ever look back and think, wow, this company grew so? Did you ever envision that the company is going to grow the way it did? Because, I go to Southeast Fresno, I see Granville. Clovis, I see Granville. By my house at Central Unified, I see Granville. And then we'll talk about the schools and stuff as well, but you grew the company, or the family grew the company pretty well.
And it's really a family activity. It's me and my two partners, who are my two brothers. We work closely on a lot of our projects, whether they're farming or real estate development. And it's been, again, this community has been good to us. We've found a great, niche to develop into, offering, what I believe is exceptional service to our customers, and timeless architecture and design. The demand has been there over the years, and we realized that there's different microclimates in Fresno Clovis, and some folks want to live west of 99, others want to live in North Fresno or Southeast Fresno, so we want to take care of that demand.
Every year, my wife and I buy a ticket for something that's called Home of Hope. Yeah. And every year it's more and more beautiful than the year previous. Yeah. This past time, Home of Hope was in a very good neighborhood, community, and there was a pool across the street, community pool. So you build Home of Hope, and what happens? Tell us how that works.
Yeah, so about over 13, 14 years ago, we started the first Granville Home of Hope giveaway. And it's an opportunity to raise money So we build a home and donate it to a nonprofit foundation, and they end up selling tickets, which is the Granville Foundation. They end up selling $100 tickets, and 100% of the money raised goes to local charities. This year we have 9 local charities that are going to be recipients of the funds, and it's not only about raising money for them; it's also elevating their story, illuminating their challenges, so that they get more marketing and more marketing presence, and a bigger presence in the Fresno community. And not that they need to be kick-started or jump-started, but some of the nonprofits, like Break the Chains, they're an incredible organization. They're only 4 years old, and we hope that as part of this journey and of the Granville Home of Hope involvement, that they'll get a lot more exposure about their story, what they do, and how they incredibly positively impact our community. So that's why it's been such an incredible partnership. I have to also tell you, a lot of our subcontractors step up and donate their labor and or materials to help build the home, because they know it's going for an incredible cause. And one lucky winner every year walks away with a beautiful home. And
we stay glued to the television every year.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's right.
So you've talked to some of these winners. It's like winning the lottery almost, right?
Well, it is actually, but the odds are exceptionally high, great, right? So this year we'll have 6,000 tickets, so you have a 1 in 6,000 chance if you buy one ticket. There's many people that buy, bundles of 2, 3, 5, 10 tickets. First of all, your money is going to an incredible cause, and there's a side effect that
you may win a house.
You may win a house, and then there's a second prize of winning a brand new 2-year lease, brand new lease on a
Lexus.
On a Lexus,
yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, it's cool to see that a local company like that is doing that, because really, I mean, if I were to win the house, I'd be like, wow, I helped a good cause while buying the ticket, and
that's exactly right.
I got a house out of it.
Exactly.
So one of the organizations that were benefited from was organization out in Central Unified School District. You all were just there giving coats, right? I just saw something come through. So tell us about the whole coat giving.
Yeah, there's Central Unified has a Coat for Kids program for I don't know how long, definitely over a decade. And we got involved with them, I think it was about 15 or so years ago. It's difficult to understand that in this day and age, there's kids in our community that go to school without a coat in winter months, that their parents can't afford to buy them a jacket or a sweater. So Central Unified Foundation, to their credit, started this program of identifying and then buying a ton of coats and jackets for these kids, from first grade on. And we've been involved in that program, I think over 10 years now. Great program, and again, you don't think that in our community there's parents that send their kids to school that can't afford to buy a jacket for them. It's incredible.
I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
4, 3, and a 9-month-old. And for me, when it's cold outside, we bundle those kids up. So how hard is it for a parent? I mean, I could imagine that it's so hard. And then here, you have organizations like yours and the Central Unified Foundation that step up and give them a jacket. And I think that also builds confidence in the kid, too. They're wearing a brand new jacket.
No, totally. Whether it's a brand new jacket or a pair of eyeglasses because you can't read appropriately, it's so important for childhood education, right? And we know that if kids don't get a chance to read at grade by 3rd grade, the odds of them getting incarcerated or getting into a life of crime goes up substantially. So we have to invest in our children. We have to invest in their education and their well-being. Really, is from cradle to career, right? Education and early childhood development. It's so important. Investing in early childhood development is so important.
Why do you care so much? I mean, I've followed you for years now, and we've met each other several times. And like when you're giving coats, you're there giving the coats. You're making sure you're there. You, and when I say you, I mean the Assemi family and your company. you've been very successful, but at the same time, you've also been very generous in giving back. Why do you care so much?
No, thank you. First of all, there's a lot of families in this community, a lot of folks, individuals, families that care deeply about our community. And we're glad to be a part of that. I can tell you this, that there's not a single person at Granville that is not very dedicated and committed to the community. And something that I'm very proud of. When it's Granville Home of Hope giveaway, the last 4 weeks, everybody at Granville goes to, making sure tickets are sold, they're processed, so on and so forth. But, it's difficult to live in an impoverished community. And I'm not saying we're impoverished. There's a lot of fantastic things about Fresno, a lot of things we have to be very proud of. But we also have our challenges. Blight, we have poverty, and I think all of us, all individuals have to do, we have to do our job in reaching out and touching somebody's life. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. How many people's lives do we touch in a positive way? And part of it is cultural for us, and part of it is part of our religious duties. I mean, Islam prescribes taking care of the less fortunate, the underprivileged. My religion is extremely misunderstood in the West, especially in our country. There's a lot of bad actors that call themselves Muslim and commit atrocities, but they're really, and I want to say it, they're Wahhabis. Wahhabism is a very intolerant sect or group of folks, offshoot of Islam, came out of the 18th century in Saudi Arabia, and they've done a lot of crappy things all across the world. But anyhow, so our religion promotes philanthropy and giving, especially to the underprivileged. And our family culture, we were raised in that environment that if you've been lucky enough or fortunate enough to have these opportunities, you have to share it with the less fortunate brothers and sisters. And again, I'm very proud that everybody in our company, of course, my family, extended family feels that way. And there's so many other folks in our community. I mean, we both know a lot of great families and companies that give of their time and talent or treasure to help the less fortunate in our community.
You mentioned Islam, and there's a lecture coming up, right?
Yes, correct.
To better understand Islam. Tell us about that lecture.
Yeah, so December 6th at Clovis Community College on Willow, North Willow Avenue. There's a speaker, an Islamic scholar, that's going to talk about Islam and violence. And the topic is, is Islam inherently violent? So I ask all your viewers, if you're not sure about Islam, if you've heard a little bit, if you have questions, if you want to understand more about this religion that's followed by over 1.2 billion people in this world, the number is probably higher even today. Please join us December 6th at 6 p.m. at Clovis Community College for an incredible hour-and-a-half lecture by
to learn more
about Islam. And yeah,
you mentioned community earlier, and one thing that you just started, I want to say just, but you've been doing it for a while, is something called GVWire.
Correct.
A lot of people read GVWire,
yeah.
and it's where we go when we want to hear about the small, maybe political stuff going on, the community stuff that doesn't get the big media attention. So tell us about GVWire and what your goal is with GVWire.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens in our community or in our state, and we find out about it, after the fact. This law, this legislation was signed into law, and now it's going to impact my life in this fashion. And part of the mission of GVWire is to expose and explore and explain the legislation as it is happening or before it happens, so that our community can actually comment and react and make their voices heard about what's shaping place in local government and state government to some extent. There's a lot of things that happen. Legislation gets passed today that the impacts on us are not going to be felt for 1, 2, 5 years down the road. And we wake up one day and we go, what happened? And that group of legislators are gone.
Yeah.
They're doing something else. And we go, okay, who do we hold accountable for these issues or problems we're going to have with our community? So we want to explore and explain that as it's happening. So people get educated, they're informed, and they can respond, they can communicate their feelings or thoughts with their policymakers. You know, we just went through an election cycle where, you know, there was a item on the ballot to raise more money for parks. And I personally was on, you know, one side of the issue, the no on taxes, because I believe if we were to raise taxes in a community, as a community, this was going to be one of the highest tax hikes in Fresno City's history. If there is to be tax hikes, we should be looking at public safety first. Government's first responsibility is the safety of its citizenry. There's no sense building more parks if we can't keep them safe, keep parks safe. So we got, you know, the order, in my opinion, was wrong. We need to address public safety first, then go into parks. Of course, you know, a lot of the Fresno, we did a great job running many articles on that issue. GVWire did, I believe, a great job as well in putting together several stories and editorials on the pros and cons of that measure.
And one of the other things that we saw, you know, David, your reporter, partner with us on election night.
That's
and
right.
Bill before that, and then going back to some of the forums, the candidate forums.
That's right.
That we really don't hear from other than commercials. So so it sounds like you mentioned earlier that Granville Homes found a niche, but GVWire found a niche as well.
No, that's true. So there's a lot of races, like the city council races that we teamed up with you guys. That was really awesome. Thank you for that partnership.
Thank you.
To help really inform folks about what the candidates are about. As importantly was the, you know, school board races that so many people don't pay attention to. But school boards have incredible impact on our community. You have, they decide how so much of their, I mean, Fresno Unified alone, their budget is over $1 billion. So we want to help inform folks about the candidates, what the real issues are, so that, you know, we don't go back and we can look back and say, you know, hopefully we elected a great board and great things are going to happen, and our expectations are that, you know, we're going to take care of our kids. You know, the future of our kids, you know, are dependent on a great education. And so we can't spend enough dollars on educating our kids appropriately.
And, you know, school board races traditionally haven't had televised forums and forums put together like this, so it's a great partnership. You know, education, you mentioned education, and you know, today our technical director is Gary Johnson. He's doing a great job here, but he passes by something going up over on Temperance. Talk about what that is and the Granville involvement in that. Yeah,
so in 2012, about 6 years ago, our family, really led by my brother Ferret, founded California Health Sciences University. And our president, which is an incredible human being, incredible manager and CEO, is Flo Dunn, who went from idea to execution in 2 years. So in 2014, the pharmacy school opened up, and earlier this year in May, the first students graduated. So now we have pharmacists graduating out of a school in Central California and Clovis, California. And majority of them, overwhelming majority of them, are staying here locally, which is really important because we have a shortage of pharmacists, we have a shortage of physicians, and we want to help, you know, fill that vacuum and that demand here locally. And it was really a way for us to. It had a lot of challenges getting this school out of the ground.
I mean, and I hate to interrupt you, but you all, from ground up, put a school together. I mean,
it was not an easy task, and again, I got to give a lot of credit to Flo Dunn and to my brother Ferret, and really our whole team that works diligently in getting the school off the ground. And of course, now the medical school is the next chapter that we hope to get our accreditation, so we can, you know, work on the steps and getting that opened up in 2 years, again in North Clovis, in the Research and Technology Park off of 168 and Temperance. So if you're in Northeast Clovis, you will see
some changes.
California Health Sciences University getting off the ground.
So if someone wanted to be a pharmacist, they could stay local and get that education. And the reason I ask is when I saw people wanting to go to pharmacy school, they would go out of town.
No, correct.
And then they would come back and look for a job here after they're done. But what you're saying is
you can stay here local.
Stay here.
And the goal is there is a child that can, go through the system, get a high school degree, go to community college, get their college degree and get into school here and stay here locally. And a lot of our kids do. They want to, if you're growing up in Mendota, California, you become a pharmacist, you want to go back and help your community. And it's much easier to retain local folks that have graduated than trying to go recruit folks from out of the area to come to us to become pharmacists or practicing physicians here in our backyard.
And we all have heard the numbers about the lack of physicians. So you're
That's
doing
right.
something. So is there a timeline for that? Or is that just a beginning?
Yeah, so the medical school, God willing, will open up in 2 years. And hopefully we get the first students graduating in 4 or 5 years.
How cool is
after
that? That's very cool.
It's very cool. Yes, it's very cool.
So is Granville Homes or the company or the organization leaning more towards education, or are you still going to be building the houses?
No, Granville Homes is a real estate development company, and California Health Sciences University. It's an independent university funded by our family, by and large. Although I have to tell you, there are several large local donors that have contributed to the foundation to provide scholarships for underprivileged kids, and that's something we're very proud of as well.
Going back to, we're running out of time this week on the program, but I want to go back to Measure P, which you talked about earlier. Some people, you had friends on both sides.
Correct.
Supporters and non-supporters of Measure P, which that was a very interesting initiative because you had, very close people to each other on both sides of the aisle. What are some of the reasons why, again, why you were against it, for people to maybe understand that part of it better?
So I mean, let me establish some facts. I love parks. We put parks in all of our neighborhoods. I helped City of Fresno get a grant for the downtown park.
Which is right here.
Right across the street. And we worked hard. We did the public charrettes. We did the initial design. We packaged all the data, gave it to the city, worked closely with Craig Sharton at the time to select the site. And then they took it from there. So parks is really an inherent part of every community. We want to make sure we have parks. Unsafe parks are not a positive for a community. And we have homeless challenges today in Fresno, which is something we have to address as a community. And you cannot evict homeless from parks, the Ninth Circuit ruling that came down earlier this year. So again, a government's number one responsibility is the safety of its citizens. If we're not safe, one of my staff, this is 2 weeks before election, walked into a park off of Divisera and Blackstone with her kids, went into the bathroom, and there's two women doing a drug deal. And there's police about a few hundred feet down the road. So if you can't keep our parks safe, there's no sense building more parks. So the order was not in the right proper.
And that's, yes, and I hate to interrupt you, but
Please.
That's what I want. I convey the message for people who were on the no on P side, is it's not that they're against parks.
No, correct. The no on P campaign is 30 years is too long. If we are to trust government to tax us, in my mind, in my opinion, this would have been a 30-year sentence on Fresno to pay 38 to 45, 60, 70 million dollars a year, as as the economy grows, into a single-purpose item. And our mayor Brand was against it. Our previous mayor Ashley Swearingen was very supportive of it. And I've talked to both of them, and I realized, we need to address public safety first. And 30 years is way too long. I mean, I don't trust government to do something for 30, to do something great for 30 years. Let's do it for 10, maybe 15. And by the way, if it works well, we can always renew it. But 30 years becomes a 30-year sentence. And 3/8 of a sales tax, that would follow every Fresno, everywhere you go in California when you buy in a car, a boat, any item that you register through the DMV, you would have to pay that higher sales tax. And Clovis, by the way, is not raising their sales tax, and they have beautiful parks.
And they're safe.
And they're safe, and they're beautifully maintained. Of course, the argument against that is that they don't have a lot of the challenges that we do. They don't have a lot of the big parks like Roding, where there's, you know, a lot of challenges. And so they're a much smaller community. But there's much better ways of spending our dollars. And my biggest challenge, and I think Mayor Brand's biggest challenge, and the No on P, is that 30 years is way too long. And 3/8 of a cent sales tax hike is way too much on a single purpose. You know, and a lot of my friends on the Yes on P said, let's come back in 2 years, let's pass this, come back in 2 years and do another 3/8 for public safety. Well, now you're raising our sales tax by 0.75%. I mean, enough is enough.
Yeah.
So we got to be very frugal because, first of all, we need accountability in government. Before we pass anything, I want to know what is City of Fresno doing with our current tax dollars for parks. Let's take a look at that. Are they good custodians of our dollars? Mm-hmm. Let's audit those numbers. Once you find out what the deficiency is, then we go, okay, maybe there is a need. There's a parks master plan that put together under Swearingen's mayorship several years ago. Let's take a look at that. You know, how do we implement that, roll that out in an appropriate fashion? But most importantly, we got to address public safety. We're 160 cops short today, 100 civilian officers short today, 45 fighters short today.
Wow.
You know, when your car gets broken into, every place I go when I park my car, I'm going, am I going to get broken into? So much of my staff has gotten broken into outside our office, in our parking lot. North Fresno, South Fresno, wherever you go. Yeah. So we got to address those issues first. And studies have shown police presence deters crime. So, and Chief Dyer says we're short 160 cops today. You know, we need a little over 900. We have 740 cops that can be used anywhere in the city. There's more, actually there's another, 60 to 80 cops that are designated for facts, but cannot be used anywhere else. So we need to give our police chief and our police Chief Dyer the resources to keep us safe first.
Mr. Assemi, thank you. I could talk to you for hours about the various things. We are out of time this week on the program, but thank you for joining us. Thank you for telling us a little bit about Granville Homes, the endeavors that you're involved in, the education that's going on. A lot of exciting stuff happening. A lot of exciting stuff.
Fresno has a lot of fantastic things in store. We're a great city, and we're an aspiring city, and we have a bright future.
On that note, thank you to our guest, Darius Assemi, who joined us to talk a little bit about Granville Homes and the different projects they're involved in. Thank you to you listening to this broadcast on 90.7 FM, KFSR Fresno, and to those watching on the CMAC channels, Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. We hope you enjoyed the program this week. Thank you also to our volunteer crew. Today, the technical director was Gary Johnson, making us look and sound good. We hope you enjoyed the program this week. Tune in next week to a new edition.
KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger every Sunday morning at 11:30. For a complete program schedule, visit kfsr.org.